Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the second stimulus package for Sunday, July 19th. I hope everyone is having a good and safe weekend so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus checks, including Kamala Harris making one last strong push for a monthly recurring $2,000 monthly stimulus payment. I'll also be going over what's being debated on in Congress over the next stimulus package and next stimulus check, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up, it really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so California Senator and former presidential candidate Kamala Harris is continuing to show support for her recurring $2,000 monthly stimulus payments to Americans. On MSNBC, Harris once again pitched her idea, saying that a one-time $1,200 stimulus payment simply is not enough. Harris stated, quote, "Through the course of this pandemic and crisis, we need to give people $2,000 a month as a recurring payment, people below a certain income level, to help them and sustain them through these months of crisis, so at the end of it they can get back on their feet instead of falling deep into the crevices of this crisis." Now, Kamala Harris is pitching this idea alongside Bernie Sanders and Ed Markey. Harris went on to say, "It does not make any sense, to your point, when we have Republicans in Congress who are standing in the way of supporting working people who have recently lost their jobs and have every intention of working, when we can get through this crisis and just need help from the government." With this proposal, each American earning less than $100,000 on an annual basis would be receiving $2,000 per month, and a married couple would be receiving $4,000 jointly. Additionally, each dependent would also be receiving another $2,000. So let's take a married couple who happen to have 3 children or 3 dependents. That family would be receiving $10,000 per month or $120,000 on an annual basis in stimulus payments from the government. Now, some economists have stated that proposals such as this one could cost upwards to $10 trillion. So with that said, you really have to question how realistic that is, being that we're already $25 trillion in debt. Also, being that the House Majority Democrats passed the HEROES Act back in May, which only included a one-time stimulus payment of $1,200 and not an ongoing stimulus check, it's highly unlikely that this will pass, being that most Democrats even see a plan like this as being unviable. What do you guys personally think about this proposal? Do you think that if we did something like this, we would be giving families and individuals too much money? Or do you think that the government giving us $2,000 per month is a fair amount considering that we're having to go through this pandemic? Let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. Alright, so unfortunately there are still millions of people waiting around for their first stimulus payments to arrive. These were the first stimulus payments that many people began receiving as early as mid-April. This is really unfortunate because the IRS should have all the information for all these individuals and they're still waiting for their stimulus payments. So it's ridiculous they're having to wait several months just to receive a simple stimulus check. I mean, really, it shouldn't take more than a couple weeks for the IRS to get all these stimulus payments sent out. But here we are several months later with millions of people still left unpaid. Now, the IRS does plan on sending out additional stimulus payments on Wednesday, July 22nd. So if you still haven't yet received your first stimulus payment, I would be checking the payment portal. Let me know in the comment section below if you're also receiving a payment date of Wednesday, July 22nd. And if you're still not receiving a date, if you're still getting payment status not available, that does not mean that you're ineligible for the stimulus payment. That just means the IRS has still not yet scheduled a delivery date. And the IRS is going to continue sending out more and more stimulus payments each and every week. So eventually you will receive a payment date and eventually you will receive your payment as long as you are eligible. Also, just another reminder, if you are an expat living outside the United States, you will receive your stimulus payment by July 24th directly deposited into your bank account. That's if you do have a US based bank. Now, if you do not have a US based bank, your payment will be mailed no later than July 24th. So I hope that most of you guys that live abroad do receive your stimulus check in the mail no later than possibly September 1st. I hope it doesn't take much longer than a month for a stimulus check to arrive wherever you're living outside the United States. And finally, if you would like to call the IRS, their number is 1-800-919-9835. They should be able to answer most questions that you have in regards to your first stimulus check. However, most people that do call end up having a long hold time, and most of the information that they learn, they can already find themselves through the payment portal. Okay, moving right along to some second stimulus check updates. So the Senate will finally be returning to Washington tomorrow on Monday, where they'll begin to work on the next stimulus package. They'll just have 15 days in order to do so, just because they're going to be going on another month-long recess, which will begin on August 10th. meaning that their last workday will be on August 7th. The House is also going to be taking a recess of their own on August 3rd. However, Nancy Pelosi has already come out and said that they're willing to push that recess back in order to get this next stimulus package passed. Now, on the other hand, Mitch McConnell and the Senate haven't yet come out and said that they're willing to delay their recess in order to get this next stimulus package passed. This may possibly be for negotiating purposes. If Pelosi and the House believe that they only have a limited amount of time to pass the next stimulus package, if they believe they only have 15 days to get this through, then they may be more willing to accept some of the proposals that Mitch McConnell and the Senate want to pass through, such as liability protection and payroll tax cuts. On the other hand, if they don't get the stimulus package passed by August 7th, and Mitch McConnell and the Senate do go on recess, then that's not going to look too good on their part. Mitch McConnell, for example, has now served 6 consecutive terms in the Senate for the state of Kentucky, and his seat is going to be up for grabs in November. And all I can say is it really won't look too good on his part if they don't decide to stay in Washington and try to hash out the next stimulus package. Not only are payroll tax cuts important for McConnell and Kudlow, but they are also a must for President Trump. High-ranking White House officials have even said Trump will veto any bill that does not include a payroll tax cut. This would be surprising, however, seeing any bill passed vetoed by the president, and it probably wouldn't look the best on his part either, especially with the elections coming up in November. Just imagine the House and the Senate passing a bipartisan bill, only to have President Trump then at that point veto it. That would be near political suicide for the president. I just don't see it. I must also mention that even if a president does veto a bill, Congress can actually override the veto by passing it with 2/3 of approval in both the House and the Senate. Now, a payroll tax cut has been something that's been fairly opposed to in Congress, not only by the House Majority Democrats, but also by some Republicans as well. South Dakota Senator John Thune, for example, stated, "I'm not a particular fan of that, but I guess I'm open to being persuaded that it's something that could be effective, but I think some of the things that we are currently doing are having a bigger impact." Thune doesn't believe that payroll tax cuts are the best way to spur the economy right now. And let me just say this. A payroll tax cut would be a tremendous help to those people who are working. According to data provided by the US Census Bureau, the average American household earns around $60,000 on an annual basis. Even with just a small 2% reduction in taxes paid, that average American family would be saving $1,200 in taxes or otherwise earning $1,200 more per year. $1,200. That number sounds a little bit familiar, doesn't it? Now, obviously there are a couple of different problems with a payroll tax cut also. One problem is that it would reduce funding towards Social Security, which is already facing shortfalls. Secondly, a payroll tax cut would also not be helping those people who are unemployed. Since they're not paying any payroll taxes at the moment, they wouldn't feel any impact of this whatsoever. This is what members of Congress are arguing about. So it should be interesting to see how all of this plays out. Now, as far as unemployment goes, that's left to be debated over as well. Now, with unemployment still being a huge issue, at least at this point, it seems to be a pretty bipartisan issue that it needs to be extended for probably another 6 months, and most likely they're going to reduce that figure from $600 down to $400. Now, Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats want to extend it for another 6 months at the full $600 weekly federal unemployment boost, but most Senator Republicans are opposed to that and they want to reduce that down to the $400 mark just because they feel at $600 per week that's providing a disincentive to return to work, just because whenever you're receiving $600 per week, many people who are receiving that unemployment boost are actually receiving more on unemployment than they were at their prior jobs. So in the end, like mentioned, I do expect the unemployment benefits to extend for another 6 months. However, I do expect them to get reduced from $600 on a weekly basis down to $400. And again, I ask you guys, do you believe that the federal unemployment boost should be extended for another 6 months at the full $600, or do you believe that it should be reduced down to $350 to $400? Let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. Also, would you also like to see some type of return to work bonus, or would you rather see some type of hazard pay for essential workers? Let me know what your thoughts are on that as well in the comment section below. With the federal unemployment benefits set to expire on July 31st, let's hope that Congress can act quickly to get this next stimulus package passed. Finally, as far as the next round of stimulus checks go, that should be another issue that will be heavily debated on. We have Larry Kudlow urging Congress members to only issue these stimulus payments out to lower income levels, and he's also wanting the second round of stimulus checks to be for a lower amount than $1,200. And on the other hand, we have Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who is urging members of Congress to keep stimulus checks the way they were in the first round, where there would be a $75,000 income cap for single individuals, $150,000 income cap for married filers, and the stimulus checks would be for $1,200. So if members of Congress are more convinced by Mnuchin's plan, then everyone who received the first stimulus payment should also be receiving the second stimulus payment as well. This means that as long as you made less than $75,000 on an annual basis as a single filer, or less than $150,000 as a married filer, or if you receive Social Security benefits, then you would be eligible for the second stimulus payment. Now, if Congress is more convinced by Kudlow's plan, then that means that there's going to be a lot less people eligible for the next stimulus payment, and you may be receiving less than $1,200. Now, with all that said, I really don't see members of Congress being fully on board with Kudlow's plan. It really just isn't gaining too much traction right now. It's not going to be very popular, and I can't see Nancy Pelosi in the House passing any bill that's going to reduce the amount of stimulus checks handed out. Now, with all that said, do you guys believe that there should be any type of income cap placed on the next round of stimulus checks? And if so, what would your income cap be at? Would you place it at $75,000 for single filers? Would you place it higher, maybe at $100,000? Or would you place it maybe a little bit lower at $60,000? Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on that. Okay, so at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to respond to as many comments and questions as I possibly can. And those comments and questions that I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. All right, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video. And that comment comes from RPG. RPG says, will child support take the second stimulus check as well? All right, thank you so much for that question, RPG. And unfortunately, since the next stimulus package has not yet passed, I'm unable to say with certainty whether or not your stimulus check can be offset by past due child support. As you can remember, the first round of stimulus checks were able to be offset by past due child support. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be the same thing in the second round. However, I'm unable to say with certainty, but I will keep you updated on that. All right, so the next comment of today's video comes from Maria. Maria says, why didn't we get our dependent money when I claimed my child? She was claimed on my taxes, so what's up with that money? All right, thank you so much for that question, Maria, and I'm so sorry that you never ended up receiving the additional $500 for each dependent that you claimed on your tax returns. Unfortunately, this is an issue that the IRS already recognizes. They realize that they forgot to send thousands of people the extra $500 for each dependent that they claimed, and right now, all they're saying is that we have to wait until next year to file our taxes to claim that extra credit, and at that point, we would receive the extra $500 per dependent. I wish they could come up with a better solution because they recognize this is their fault, but they're not really doing anything about it that really helps us right here and right now. I do hope maybe if the next stimulus bill does pass, maybe they'll include the extra $500 that they forgot to send in the first round, but who really knows at this point in time, but I will definitely keep you updated on that. All right, so on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.